Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Reading Realm. I'm Tobias and this will be my first official video on my channel. I'm super excited to finally join the community and start diving into the massive stack of books I'm meaning to read. Today, however, I will be talking about the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, tackling Assassin's Blade and the first book, The Throne of Glass. This will be a spoiler-free overview of both books. You can consider this part one of a multi-part series, where in future parts I will dive deeper into plot details, my favorite characters, chapters, and moments, and explore what really worked or didn't for me. They will be very detailed, so expect a lengthy deep dive. Each book will have its own video, so Assassin's Blade will be next, and The Throne of Glass after, and then eventually I will cover all the books in the series. But if those videos are already on the channel and you're more interested in skipping directly to spoilers, then I'll link those in the description or in the comments section below. Now I am doing both books together because they connect incredibly well. The Assassin's Blade may be a prequel, but reading it first added a ton of emotional depth to the main series. It gives you essential insights into Celaena herself and the world that she comes from. So much so that skipping it or leaving it until later just didn't feel right to me. Now I do say that because Assassin's Blade wasn't actually published until after the third book, Crown of Midnight. So technically it's optional to read first, but again, in my opinion, starting with it made a Throne of Glass hit way harder, though I can only offer my recommendation whilst others do say to read it after Throne of Glass. It's your choice. But as I did read Assassin's Blade first, my thoughts and overview in this and all the following videos will be with that in mind. Small disclaimer, some names are not at all straightforward to pronounce. This is pretty standard for fantasy books, but I will do my best. But apologize if I'm off or say them differently to what is intended or yourselves, but let's get stuck into it. So Assassin's Blade, what is Assassin's Blade? It is a collection of 5 connected novellas that follow 17-year-old Celaena Saradotian, a notorious assassin working in an assassin's guild in Rifthold. This guild is led by a ruthless man named Orban Hamel, and each story takes place or takes us to different parts of the world as Celaena is sent on missions dealing with pirates or rival assassins, corrupt rulers, and slave trade rings. What's really compelling is how we will watch her evolve across these stories. She starts as a confident, arrogant weapon of the guild, but as the layers of betrayal, loss, and hard choices build up, we see the cracks form and something more human emerges. It's tense, action-packed, emotionally intense, and full of character building that's really deep and meaningful, especially as we go through the series. For new readers, this isn't just a backstory or side content. View it as a crucial look at Celaena's past that enriches everything that follows. It gives you a foundation for who she is, what she's lost, and why she fights, so that when you do eventually pick up Throne of Glass, you are already invested. All right, so jumping straight into the following book, The Throne of Glass. This is where the main story kicks off. It picks up about a year after the first book, Assassin's Blade. Celaena is now about 18, and after spending time in a brutal prison camp, she's offered a deal. Compete in a deadly tournament to become the king's champion, essentially his personal assassin. If she wins, she will serve the crown for a few years and then earn her freedom. And if she loses, well, that's it. The story itself follows her arrival at the Glass Castle in Rifthold. So we are back to the city we saw in the prequel, and her task is to compete against a variety of thieves, warriors, killers, and other assassins, all leading up to a final duel. But beneath the glittering court and the competition itself, something rather dark is stirring. Champions, competitors start turning up dead in very horrific ways, and there's this growing sense that something magical, ancient, and dangerous is lurking in the shadows. The book mixes political intrigue, deadly trials, mysterious magic, and slow burn character dynamics, especially between the main cast. So we've got Celaena, Crown Prince Dorian, and the captain of the guard, Chol. It's not just a story about surviving this tournament, it's also about uncovering a hidden threat to the entire realm. And Sarah J. Maas does a wonderful job here, slowly widening the world in Throne of Glass, where Assassin's Blade felt more grounded and gritty. Throne of Glass starts weaving a deeper lore and mystical elements that hint at this epic scale to come. So for my final or closing thoughts, both books to give you a full picture of who Celaena is and what she could become. Assassin's Blade shows you her past, the trauma, betrayal and fire that forged her, whilst Throne of Glass kicks off this larger narrative that will eventually stretch across the entire series. So, like me, if you are into or enjoy reading morally grey heroes, smartly paced fantasy, layered female leads, and stories that blend both combat, sword fighting, with emotional stakes and eventually some ancient magic, I say absolutely give this series a try. I will touch on the romantic subplot. In both books, I think it's done very well. More so in Throne of Glass than Assassin's Blade, but ultimately it is blended nicely into the story in a non-intrusive way. It isn't significantly dramatic or soapy, so don't be overly concerned or turned off if a strong romantic subplot within your epic fantasy isn't your cup of tea. I'll admit, I wasn't really interested either, but again, it does work well here. And I did find myself getting emotionally invested, which does get some praise. I also felt that the mystery and mystique surrounding the ancient elements of Aurelia and the magic therein is worth the slow burn reveal. With Assassin's Blade having 0 and only really showing itself by the end of Throne of Glass, it was honestly really refreshing. The story isn't bogged down by establishing the rules surrounding the magic system right from the start. And not knowing everything is a good thing here. Learning gradually as the story is told, made for a very good read. Okay, so now let's talk about how I rated these books. I'm going to use the standard 5 stars Goodreads model here, but I do want to give additional context on how I approach my ratings. For me, anything above 3 stars means I had a good experience. I don't feel like my time was wasted, and I've come away enjoying the story enough to continue on. 4 stars and above is where I start to feel truly and fully invested, where the book leaves a lasting impression, not just while I'm reading, but also after I put it down. So starting with Assassin's Blade, I've given this a rating of 3.5 stars. This was the weaker of the two, but I do want to emphasize not by much. What held it back for me slightly was the structure. That being the fact it's a collection of novellas. It sometimes felt disconjointed and in pacing and in focus. There were points where I struggled to fully connect with certain characters or relationships, particularly in the early stages. And I will admit that some of the emotional beats didn't land as well as they could have or should have for me. However, at least as the story progressed, I did find myself increasingly drawn in. The gradual unraveling of Celaena's past, her complex dynamic with Oregon, and her evolving relationship with Sam did add real emotional weight. And once we progressed into the later stages of the book, into sort of the final 2 novellas or chapters especially, they delivered the strongest impact and gave Assassin's Blade the heart that it needed. What this book does do exceptionally well is lay a good foundation for Celaena's character. It adds crucial emotional depth and directly feeds into Throne of Glass. Honestly, don't be dissuaded from starting the series or reading the book. Even though it didn't quite hit great territory for me, it is a strong prequel collection that does enrich the story to come. Now on to the Throne of Glass. I'm giving this one 4 stars. This was a clear step up for me. I was fully engaged with both the characters and the world. The competition premise might be familiar, but Sarah J. Maas layers in a political intrigue, moral ambiguity, and just enough mystery to keep the story from feeling predictable. And couple that with the slow burn reveal of all the hidden magical elements, it all added compelling layers of intrigue that made me eager to peel back the curtain further. Celaena herself is definitely the highlight, a complex protagonist who is arrogant yet vulnerable, deadly yet deeply human. Watching Dorian and Chol and Nehemia interact with her and seeing their relationships evolve was one of the most rewarding parts of the read. While the structure of the tournament wasn't as intense as I was hoping for, the darker, supernatural undertones really elevated the second half of the book and felt or left me fully invested in where the series is going. The ending in particular cemented my excitement to continue. So in short, Assassin's Blade laid some great emotional groundwork, and Throne of Glass really pulled me in with world building and character arcs. At this point, as I've mentioned before, I'm definitely invested. There is clearly a lot more to uncover, especially with the magical and political intrigue that's just starting to build. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Have you read Assassin's Blade or Throne of Glass? Or where are you in the series and what are your impressions so far? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and see how they compare to mine. And of course, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell if you're interested in any further fantasy recs, spoiler-free reviews, or you just want to follow along with me as I continue reading through this series and plenty more after. Until next time, happy reading. Bye for now.